It says we have one viewer so far. Welcome. I'm currently trying to make a choice on what to read tonight. Uh, whether I'm gonna choose a nice older horror story or a newer horror story, I do not know yet. Yes, I definitely planned this perfectly, and I definitely did not get my schedule mixed up. Today was supposed to be 3 p.m. PST, and tomorrow was supposed to be 8 p.m. PST. And I guess we're switching that. I don't know that one. And then classic. Okay, okay. My mod should be here soon. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and now we have to worry about connection there. Clear that. And then we do it. And then what you doing? Sending a message to the server. So I'm guessing you're my one viewer right now. Okay, there we go. I accidentally mixed up my schedule today. I was supposed to be doing this at 3 p.m. my time, and I forgot. I thought tonight was 8 p.m. my time, but it was actually supposed to be 3 p.m. today and 8 p.m. tomorrow. So I'm just switching the times around. Oopsie daisy me. Okay, I set out the announcement. Let's also go here. Let's go ahead and open this link. Oh, that is so small. Okay. Well, yeah, that's gonna be plenty of zooming to be done there. It's 4 a.m. for you, like 4 in the morning? Why are you awake? Do you have work? Because you didn't go to sleep? Bro. You need to go to sleep. You can't just stay awake like that. Do you have things to do today? Okay, so will that be tomorrow for you? Or are you on Saturday as well? Okay, well, I might put you to sleep if you stick around. Who knows? I'm actually currently don't know what to read. Yeah, it's Sunday for you. Yeah, it's Saturday for me, so you're a whole day ahead of me. Okay, I'm good. Okay, that's better. Like, it seems no matter what, though, I'm gonna be choosing an oldie because older horror I tend to like more. It's more atmospheric horror, is kind of what we're going for, I guess. But our main options so far, it seems, are Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu from 1872. Yes, a horror novel from 1872. Um, The Doll. This it appeared in a small collection in 1937. Why are you yawning? It's like what, 22, 3? I'm always tired. Tired is my default. I yawn throughout the whole entire day. Yawning for me is default. The Doll from 1937 that was lost for 70 years. So like a long lost story. I've already read that one before to a completely different audience and it was really good, really unnerving. Really unnerving. Um I read this one before a long time ago, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. We got The Monkey's Paw by William W. Jacobs. And we can do some other H.P. Lovecraft or some more Edgar Allan Poe because they're so good. There's also a Legend of Sleepy Hollow. There's also here we got The Man Who Loved Flowers by Stephen King. And mainly Edgar Allan Poe, mainly Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. So no matter what, we're gonna be going a few years back reading wise. I think my mod is dead. He's not here yet. You're the only one here right now. So why don't you help me pick? What do you think you want to hear? Your mod sucks. Don't let him see you say that. It was a sudden change to schedule, so it's my fault completely. And I'm not gonna bother him. He's probably eating or sleeping or something. I don't know. I wouldn't think he'd be sleeping this early, but he'll show up when he shows up. I keep accidentally switching around times as of late because I don't know. I just do. It's a complete accident. Like I forget like what time I'm supposed to be streaming or I think it's another time and I was wrong. So like Tales from Outspace? No, I haven't. Well, all of these ones are mainly short that I named off. They're like short stories. Carmilla is a full-on freaking novel, and I haven't read it yet. Yeah, there are a few reading channels on YouTube. I was actually thinking of maybe I should put something out like that. I am currently working on a Demons 101. I just started the script today, and it's gonna take me a cool minute for each video because simplifying, pulling together my references, etc., etc. The putting together the video is gonna take longer than recording the video, so it's usually how it goes. And then once what with that, I'm gonna try to go through all the current existing demons, and then from there, I'll go into Demon Summoning 101 and teach people how to summon demons. Smart ideas. Smart ideas. But yeah, I could do like some novel reading on YouTube. Maybe somebody will be into it. Put them to sleep. I feel like I do a really good job of reading because I love reading and I really love getting into character and doing different voices when I read. So it's a lot of fun for me personally to be dramatic like that. I'm really good at dramatic reading. There is one channel that I listen to sometimes for sleeping that does reading. This? Wait, hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna open up my chat from a different source to click on the link. Okay, let's see here, my channel. Open up here. I think I have volume on. Okay. Copy text. Text I copied. Go. Okay. Interesting. And he just posted a video. Science fiction? I mean, the only science fiction types of stories I could think of were like alien related. I think about it, huh? I'm trying to think of what kind of science fiction stuff I've read before in my life. You might find it interesting. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this link. Okay, that link was posted correctly. Yay! What is this? Oh, okay. That's a very long ass video. Okay. I could look into that. It's always good to see things from other people's perspectives. And also let me say, Hail Satan! Okay. At the same time, it kind of makes sense. It's interesting. Okay. Well, I'll definitely put time into watching it. I can definitely watch it at some point tonight, maybe before I go to bed, or probably actually tomorrow, let's not lie. I don't think I have it in me to watch something past 11 o'clock. I've been live for 21 minutes. Yikes. Okay, that's good. Crazy weather we having. Ah, yes, it was very hot today. Right now it is 82 degrees outside. I was sweating blue. I was sweating my blue. Today it was quite terrible. My hands were blue from my sweating. So I do not do well in the heat, especially when the heat comes inside. Yay! As a person who mainly stays inside, it is not good when inside is hot. But I also very much dislike the cold, so for me, 70s is perfect weather. So, have you ever heard or read The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe? I want to know if you have, because I might read that for the time being before going into something I haven't read or something that's longer. Yes. Yes, Fahrenheit. 82 degrees Fahrenheit. It's like 27 Celsius. That's not hot. It's hot for me, okay? Well, usually, well, technically for here, it's not super hot because we can get around to like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So, technically, it's not hot for here, but it's still hot to me. It still feels too hot. I sweat easy. Yeah, but like I said, tell the Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. In summer. Yeah. Well, it's always hot here, period. So we have most of the record highs. I can't spell. We're on the same boat, bro. Same storm, bro. Who needs spelling? Nobody. Definitely nobody. I got a song stuck in my head. It won't go away. No, you're really gonna do me like this, bro? I never stick it, so we won't be able to get it from here. There's another place to read that then. Federal tax policy. I don't know about that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that would probably be more of a horror story to some people than an actual horror story. I don't know anything about it. So, I haven't been up here in the living world for long enough. Okay, there we go. I had to adjust something real fast. So, since I don't feel like searching for the Telltale Heart, I'm gonna read something else I already have open here. It is a story I have read before, and it is delightfully, um, delightfully disturbing and strange. So there is a backstory to the story itself, which is what it starts out with. Mama, get me. And it's gonna be the doll. It is a lot weirder than it sounds. And I can assure you, I personally found this to be pretty good. And this is a story that was lost for 70 years, and it hasn't been published since it appeared in a small collection in 1937. So it's an older one. And so we got the foreword. It says, sorry, yeah, no moment. It says the following pages were found in a shabby pocketbook, very much sodden and very much sodded and discolored by salt water, tucked away between the crevices of a rock and bay. Their owner has never been traced, and the most diligent inquiries have failed to discover his identity. Either the wretched man drowned himself near the spot where he hid his pocketbook, and his body has been lost at sea, or he is still wandering about the world trying to forget himself and his tragedy. Some pages of his story were so damaged by exposure as to render them completely illegible. Thus, there are many gaps, of much of it seems without sequence, including the abrupt and unsatisfactory termination. I have placed 3 dots between sentences when words or lines were undecipherable, whether the wild improbabilities of the story are true, or whether the whole is but the hysterical product of a diseased mind, we shall never know. My sole reason for publishing these pages is to satisfy the entreaties of many friends who have been interested in my discovery. Signed by Dr. E. Strongman, Bay, S., England. And then that was just a little note that came with the story. So the person who published the story did not make this story. The original writer of this story is unknown. And as to whether or not this is based off of something true, of what's written, or delusions, or whatever, is kind of yours to decide. And also, this is written by a man too. Just give that more concept as well. I want to know if men realize when they are insane. Sometimes I think that my brain cannot hold together. It is filled with too much horror, too great a despair. And there is no one. I have never been so unutterably alone. Why should it help me to write this? Vomit forth the poison in my brain, for I am poisoned. I cannot sleep, I cannot close my eyes without seeing his damned face. If only it had been a dream, something to laugh over, a festered imagination. It's easy enough to laugh. Who wouldn't crack their sides and split their tongues with laughing? Let's laugh till the blood runs from our eyes. There's fun, if you like. No, it's the emptiness that hurts. the breaking up of everything inside me. If I could feel, I should have followed her to the ends of the earth. No matter how she pleaded or how she loathed me, I should have taught her what it is to be loved by a man. Yes, a man. And I would have thrown his filthy, battered body from the window, watched him disappear forever, his evil scarlet mouth distorted. It's the hot feeling that has filled me, the utter incapacity to reason, and I am deceiving myself when I say she would have come to me. I did not follow her because I knew that it was hopeless. She would have never have loved me. She will never love any man. Sometimes I can think of it all dispassionately and I pity her. She misses so much, and no one will ever know the truth. What was her life before I knew her? What is it now? Rebecca. Rebecca, when I think of you with your pale, earnest face, your great, wide, fanatical eyes like a saint's, the narrow mouth that hid your teeth, sharp and white as ivory, and your halo of savage hair, electric, dark, uncontrolled. There has never been anyone more beautiful. Who will ever know your heart? Who will ever know your mind? Intense, restrained, and soulless, for you must be soulless to have done what you have done. You have that fatal quality of silence, of a tight repression that suggests a hidden fire. Yes, a burning fire, unquenchable. What have I not done with you in dreams, Rebecca? It would be fatal to any man. A spark that lights does not burn itself. A flame flaming other flames. What did I love in you but your indifference, and the suggestions that lay beneath your indifference? I loved you too much, wanted you too much, had you for too great a tenderness. Now all of this is like a twisted root in my heart, a deadly poison in my brain. You have made me of a madman. You fill me with a kind of horror, a devastating hate that is akin to love, a hunger that is nausea. If only I could be calm and clear from one moment only. I want to make a plan, an orderly arrangement of dates. It was at Olga's studio first, I think. I can remember how it rained outside, and the rain made dirty streaks on the window pane. The room was full of a lot of people, were talking by the piano. Vorky was there, they were trying to make him sing, and Olga was screaming with laughter. I always hated the hard, thin reed of her laugh. You were sitting, Rebecca, sitting on a stool by the fire. Her legs were twisted on her. She looked like an elf, a sort of boy. Her back was turned to mine, and she wore a funny little fur cap on her head. I remember being assumed at her position. I wanted to see her face. I called out to Olga to introduce me. Rebecca, she said. Rebecca, show yourself. Flinging off her cap as she turned, her hair sprung from her head like a savage. Her eyes opened wide, she smiled at me, biting her lip. I can remember sitting down on the floor beside her and talking. What does it matter what I said? Dull stuff. Nonsense, of course. But she spoke breathlessly, with a sort of constrained eagerness. She did not say much. She smiled, eyes of a visionary, of a fanatic. They saw too much, demanded too much. One lost oneself in them and became incapable of resistance. It was like drowning. From the moment I saw her, then, I was doomed. I left her and came away and walked down the embankment like a drunkard. Faces spluttered up at me and shoulders brushed me. I was aware of dim lights reflected on wet pavements and the hazy throb of traffic. Through it all were her eyes, her wild, impossible hair, her slim body like a boy, all coming clear now. I can see each event as it happened, in each moment of the game. I went to Olga's again, and she was there. She came right up to me and said, "Do you care for music?" Gravely, like a child. Why did she say this? I don't know. There was no one at the piano, and I answered vaguely. I noticed the color of her skin, pale coffee and clear, clear as water. And I accidentally closed the story. Yay! Well done. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't. I'll have it right back in a second. Right back in a second. Right back in a second. Here. Here. I'm so dumb. I can't believe I accidentally closed it out. Okay, found it. She was dressed in brown, some sort of velvet, I think, with a red scarf around her neck. Her throat was very long and thin, like a swan's. I remember thinking how easy it would be to tighten the scarf and strangle her. I imagined her face when dying, her lips parted and the inquiring look in her eyes. They would show white, but she would not be afraid. All in the space of a moment, and while she was talking to me, I could drag very little from her. She was a violinist, apparently, an orphan, lived alone in Bloomsbury. Yes, she had traveled much, she said, and especially in Hungary. She had lived in Budapest for 3 years studying music. She did not care for England and she wanted to go back to Budapest. It was the only city in the world. "Rebecca," someone called, and she glanced over her shoulder with a smile. How much I could write about Rebecca's smile. It was so vivid, so intensely alive, and yet apart, unearthly. It had no relation to anything one said. Her eyes would be transfigured as if by a shaft of silver. She left early that day. I crossed the room to ask Olga about her. I was in agony of impatience to know everything Olga could tell me little. "She comes from Hungary," she said, "and knows no where her parents, Jewish I imagine. Vorkey brought her here. He found her in Paris playing the violin in one of those Russian cafes. She won't have anything to do with him, though. She lives entirely alone. Vorkey says her talent is marvelous. If she only goes on there will be no one to touch her. But she won't work. She doesn't seem to care." I heard her at Vorkey's flat, and it sent cold shivers down my spine. She stood at the end of the room like something of another planet, her hair sticking out, a sort of fur brushed round her head, and she played the notes were weird, haunting. I never known anything quite like it. It's impossible to describe. Once again I left Olga's studio in a dream, with Rebecca's face dancing before my eyes. I, too, could see her playing the violin. She would stand straight and firm as a child, her eyes wide open, her lips parted in a smile. She was to play at Vorki's flat the following evening, and I went to hear her. Olga had not exaggerated. With all her palpable shallow insincerity, I sat like a drugged man, incapable of movement. I don't know what she played, but it was shattering, stupendous. I was not aware of anything but that I and Rebecca were together, out of the world, away, lost, lost in unutterable bliss. We were climbing, then flying, higher and higher. At one time the violin seemed to protest as if she were perfusing me and I were pursuing her, and then there came a torrent of sound, a melody of acceptance and denial, a confusion of notes in which were mingled desire and sweetness and intolerable pleasure. I could feel my heart beating like the throb of some mighty vessel, and the blood pounded in my temples. Rebecca was a part of me. She was myself. It was too much. It was too glorious. We had reached the summit. We could go no further. The sun seemed to strike into my eyes. I looked up. Rebecca was smiling at me. The violin broke on a note of exquisite beauty. It was fulfillment. I leant back exhausted on the sofa, my senses swimming. It was too wonderful. Too wonderful. 3 minutes passed before I came fully conscious again. I felt as if I had plunged in the black abyss of eternity to sleep and had come awake once more. No one had noticed me. Vorki was handing round drinks, and Rebecca was sitting by the piano turning over some music. When they asked her to play again, she refused. She was tired, she said. They implored her, so she took up her violin and played once more. Something quite short, but very lovely and pure, like a child's prayer. Later in the evening she came and sat beside me. For a few moments I was too moved to speak. Then I cursed myself for a fool and turned to her and looked into her face. You gave me a marvelous sensation when you played, I told her. It was beautiful, intoxicating. I shall never forget it. You have a rare, no, a very dangerous talent. She was silent, then spoke in her restrained, breathless little voice. I played for you, she said. I wanted to see what it was like to play to a man. Her words bewildered me. They seemed utterly inexplicable. She was not lying. Her eyes looked straight into mine, and she was smiling. What do you mean? I asked her. Have you never played for anyone before? Do you use your gift just to satisfy yourself? I don't understand. Perhaps, she said slowly. Perhaps it's like that. I can't explain. I want to see you again, I told her. I'd like to come and see you, alone, where we can talk. Really talk. I've thought about you ever since I saw you in Olga's studio. You knew that, didn't you? That's why you played to me tonight, wasn't it? I wanted to drag the answer from her lips. I wanted to force her to say yes. She shrugged her shoulders. She refused to be definite. It was exasperating. I don't know, she said. I don't know. Then I asked for her address, and she gave it to me. She was busy. She would not be able to see me until the end of the week. The party broke up soon after, and she disappeared. The days that passed seemed interminable. I could not wait to see her again. I thought about her ceaselessly. On Friday I could stand it no longer. So I went to her. She lived in an odd sort of house somewhere in Bloomsbury. She rented the top floors of flats. The outlook was dull and dreary. I wondered how she could bear to live there. She opened the door to me herself. She took me into a large bare room like studio, with an oil stove burning. I was struck by the cheerlessness of it, but she did not seem to notice anything, and made me sit down in a shabby armchair. This is where I practice, Rebecca told me, and have my meals. It's a bright room, don't you think? I said nothing to this, and then she went to a cupboard and brought out some drinks and a few stale biscuits. She took nothing herself. I found her strange, detached. She seemed bored at my being there. Our conversation was forced, and there were pauses. I found it impossible to say any of the things I wanted to say. She played to me for a while, but they were all classical things that I knew, and quite different from what she had played that evening at Forky's. Before I left, she showed me around her tiny flat. There was a little scullery place she used for a kitchen, a poky bathroom, and her own small bedroom, which was furnished like a nun's cell, quite plain and bare. There was another room leading from the studio, but she did not show me this. It was obviously a fair-sized room, as I saw the window from the street afterwards and watched her draw the heavy curtains across it. And the story kind of gets really illegible at this point, so it kind of skips a bit. Not really cold, she insisted. I have tried to explain to you that I'm odd in some ways. I've never met anyone to care for. I've never been in love. I've always disliked people rather than been attracted by them. That doesn't explain your music, I broke in impatiently. You play as if you do everything. Everything. I was becoming maddened by her indifference. It was not natural, but calculated. She always gave me the impression of concealment. I felt like I should have never discovered what was in her mind. Whether she was like a child asleep, a flower before it had blossomed, or whether she was lying to me throughout, in which case every man would have been her lover. Every man. I was tortured by doubts and jealousy. The thought of other men was driving me insane, and she gave me no relief. She would look at me with her great pale eyes, pure as water, so I could swear that she was untouched. And yet, a look, a smile, and back would come my torture and my misery. She was impossible. She invaded everything, and yet it was this fatal quality of restraint that tore at me and broke at me until my love for her became an obsession, a terrible driving force. I asked Olga about her, asked Forky, asked everyone who knew her, and no one could tell me anything. Anything. I'm forgetting days and weeks as I write this. Nothing seems to have any sequence for me. It's like rising from the dead. It's like being reincarnated from dust and ashes to live it again, to live my whole cursed life again. For what was my life before I loved Rebecca? Where was I? Who was I? I had better write that Sunday now. Sunday was really the end, and I didn't know it. I thought it was the beginning. I was like someone walking in the dark. No, walking in the light with his eyes open and not seeing, deliberately blinding himself. Sunday, day of hollow, mistaken happiness. I went to her flat about 9 in the evening. She was waiting for me. She was dressed in scarlet, like Mephistopheles, odd, strange clothes that only Rebecca could wear. She seemed excited, intoxicated. She ran about the room like an elf, then sat down at my feet, with her legs tucked under her, and held out her thin brown hands to the stove. She laughed and giggled childishly. She reminded me of a mischievous child planning some naughtiness. Then all at once she turned to me, her face pale, her eyes strangely alight. She said, "Is it possible to love someone so much that it gives one a pleasure, an unaccountable pleasure to hurt them by jealousy, I mean, and to hurt oneself at the same time? Pleasure and pain, an equal mingling of pleasure and pain. just as an experiment, a rare sensation. She puzzled me, but I tried to explain to her what was meant by sadism. She seemed to understand, and nodded her head thoughtfully once or twice. Then she rose, and went slowly across the room to the door I had never yet seen open. She looked oddly pale as she stood there, her massive, queer, savage hair springing from her head, her hand on the door of the knob. The door. "I want to introduce you to Julia," she said. I left my chair and went towards her. I had no idea what she was talking about. She took my hand and then opened the door. I saw a low, round-shaped room, whose walls were draped with some sort of velvet hangings as if to deafen any sound, and long, thick curtains were drawn across the window. There was a log fire, but it burnt very low. Near the fireplace was a divan, covered with cushions, thrown anyhow, and the only light came from a small, shaded lamp, thus leaving the room in half darkness. There was one chair in the room, and this was facing the divan. Something was sitting in the chair. I felt an eerie, cold feeling in my heart, as if the room were haunted. "What is it?" I whispered. Rebecca took the lamp and held it over the chair. "This is Julia," she said softly. I stepped closer and saw what I took to be a boy of about 16, dressed in a dinner jacket, shirt and waistcoat, and long Spanish trousers. His face was the most evil thing I had ever seen. It was ashen pale in color, and the mouth was crimson gash, sensual and depraved. The nose was thin with curved nostrils, and the eyes were cruel, gleaming and narrow and curiously still. They seemed to stray right through one, the eyes of a hawk. The hair was sleek and dark, brushed right back from the white forehead. It was the face of a satyr, a grinning, hateful satire. Then I was aware of a strange feeling of disappointment, a helpless sensation of not understanding, a dumb incredulity. There was no boy sitting in the chair. It was a doll, human enough, damnably lifelike, with a foul, distinctive personality, but a doll. Only a doll. The eyes stared into mine without recognition, the mouth leered foolishly. I looked at Rebecca, and she was watching my face. "I don't see," I said. "What's the point of all this? Where did you get this loathsome toy? Are you having a joke with me?" I spoke sharply. I felt uneasy and cold. The next moment the room was in darkness. She had turned out the lamp. I felt her arms around my neck and her mouth upon mine. "Now shall I tell you I love you?" she whispered. "Shall I?" A hot wave of something swept over me. The floor seemed to swing beneath my feet. She clung to me and kissed my throat. I could feel her fingers at the back of my neck. I let her hands wander over my body. She kissed me again. It was devastating. It was madness. It was like a death. I don't know how long we stood there. I don't remember anything, words or thoughts or dreams. Only the silence of that dark room, the feeble glow of the fire, the beating of my heart, the singing in my ears, and Rebecca. Rebecca. When and whether hours had passed or years, I could not tell. When I raised my eyes above her head, I looked straight into his eyes, his damned, dull eyes. They seemed to squint at me and leer. One eyebrow was crooked, and his crimson, treacherous mouth was twisted at the corner. I wanted to leap at it and smash its beastly grinning face, trample on its sordid human body. Was Brecca mad to keep such a toy? What was her motive? Where had she found it? But she would not answer my questions. "Come away," she said, and dragged me from the room back once more into the hard glaring light of the bare studio. You must go now, she said breathlessly. It's late. I had forgotten. I tried to take hold of her once more. I wanted to kiss her again and again, and surely she did not mean me to go now. Tomorrow, she said impatiently. I promise you tomorrow, but not at the moment. I am tired and bewildered, don't you see? Just let me alone for just tonight. It's been too strong. I can't realize anything. She stamped her foot with impatience. She looked ill. I saw it was hopeless. I took my things and went and walked all night, I think. I watched the dawn break on Hampstead Heath, grey and sunless. Heavy rain fell from a leaden sky. My body was cold, but my brain was on fire. Once more I was certain that Rebecca had lied to me. From the moment she kissed me, I knew that she had lied to me. She had known 5, 10, what mattered the number, 20 lovers, and I was not one of them. No, I was not one of them. I found myself near Camden Town. Buses rumbled along the streets. It was still raining. People straggled past me, their figures bent under umbrellas. I found a taxi somewhere and went home. I got into bed without undressing, and I slept. I slept for hours. When I awoke, it was dark once more. It must have been about 6 in the evening. I remember washing mechanically, and then once more walking in the direction of Bloomsbury. I reached the flat and rang at her bell. She let me in without a word, and then sat down in the studio before the oil stove. I told her I was going to be her lover. She said nothing. Through her red rims, under her eyes, as if she'd been crying, and thin lines around her mouth. I bent towards her to kiss her, but she pushed me away. She began to speak rapidly. You must forget what happened last night. Today I realized I made a mistake. I am not well. I haven't slept. All this has worried me considerably. You must leave me alone. I tried to seize her and break down her iron restraints. It was like hammering at an iron wall. She lay cold and still in my arms. Her mouth was icy. I left her in despair. Then followed a week of doubts and torture. Sometimes she sat apart from me without a word. Sometimes I could have sworn that she loved me, and she would not let me touch her again. She was not in the mood, she said. I must wait until she wanted me again. I must wait in suspense and agony. She never mentioned Julio. We never went into that room again. I asked her what she had done with him. I wanted to know what was at the back of it all. She would answer evasively, change the subject. It was useless to press her. She was maddening. She was intolerable. And yet I could not keep away from her. I could not live without her. One evening she would be gentle and affectionate. She would sit at my feet and talk about her music, about her future plans. She was always changing. She was never the same. I felt hopeless. My position was ridiculous. But what was I to do? She had become a madness to me, an obsession. I have now come to the last evening, the very last, then crash, blankness, the depths of hell and desolation, utter desolation. Let me get it clear. When was it? What time was it? 7, 8, perhaps? I can't remember. I was leaving the flat and she came to the door with me. She suddenly put her arms around me and kissed me. There had been mad and arid deserts where the sun had so disfigured them that they had become things of horror. Parched and blackened, twisted and torn, their eyes run blood, their tongues are bitten through, and then they come upon water. I know, because I was one of their number. Laugh at all these comparisons. Call me a madman, but the laugh is on my side. These are women, but you have not kissed Rebecca. You cannot know. You are a fool asleep. You must never begin to imagine. It was shattering. She let me kiss her again and again. I took her face and looked down into her eyes. Who were your lovers? I said. How often did you kiss them like that? Who taught you to kiss them like that? Who was the first, the very first? Tell me! A haze of fury was before my eyes. My hands shook. I swear to you that you are the first man I have ever kissed. I swear to you that there has been no man before you. Never, never. She looked straight at me. Her voice was firm. I saw that she was speaking the truth. Now you must go, she said. Tomorrow you shall come, and then we shall have much to tell each other. So much. She smiled at me, and I saw right through her wall of restraint, right through ice to flame, the hitting fire. I remember leaving the flat, having dinner somewhere. My head was on fire. I seemed to walk among the gods. It was incredible that Rebecca should love me. It was incredible that I should know such happiness. I wanted to shout. I wanted to choke myself off a roof. I went home and paced up and down the room. I couldn't sleep. Every nerve in my body seemed alive. And suddenly, at midnight, I could stand it no longer. I had to go to Rebecca. I had to. I felt my love for her was so strong that she would know. She would wait for me. She would understand. She would have to understand. I don't know how I got to her flat. Seconds seemed to flash by, and I was standing outside in the street, gazing up at the windows. I persuaded the night porter to let me in. He was half asleep, and he let me pass upstairs. I listened outside her door. Not a sound came from within. It might have been an entrance to a tomb. I put my hand on the doorknob and turned it slowly. To my surprise, it was not locked. Rebecca must have forgotten to turn the key after I left. I stepped inside. Everything was in darkness. Rebecca, I called softly. Rebecca? No answer. The door of her bedroom was open. There was no one inside. Then I went into the kitchen and the bathroom. Both were empty. Then I knew something gripped my heart, cold, clammy fear. I looked towards that other room. His room. Giulio's room. I knew that Rebecca was in there, with the doll, with Giulio. I felt my way across the room and beat against the door. It was locked. I kicked against the panel and tore at it with my nails. It gave way beneath my weight, and I heard a cry of fury from Rebecca, and she turned on the lamp. Oh Christ, I shall never forget her eyes, the terrible light, the unholy rapture in her eyes, and her ashen face. I saw everything. The room, the divan, I knew everything. I was seized with deadly sickness, a terrible despair, and all the time his vile, filthy face was looking at me. His eyes never left me, staring with a lifeless, ghastly immobility. The wet crimson mouth was sneering, the sleek dark hair hung in streaks across his cheeks. He was a machine, something worked by screws. He was not alive, not human, but terrible, ghastly. And Rebecca turned to me. Her voice was cold, apart, unearthly. And you expect me to love you? Don't you see that I can't? I can't! How can I care for you or any man? Go away! Leave me! I loathe you! I loathe you all! I don't need you! I don't want you! Something cracked inside my heart, and I turned away. I left them. I left them alone. I ran into the streets. Tears were pouring down my face, and I sobbed aloud. I shook my fist at the stars. That is all. There's no more to say, no more to tell. I went the next day, and she had gone. They had both gone. No one knew where she was. I asked everyone I saw. No one could tell me. Everything is dim. Everything is useless. I shall never see Rebecca again, and no one will see her again. It'll always be Rebecca and Julio. Days will come, and nights, and nothing. They will haunt me. I shall never sleep. I'm cursed. And I don't know what I'm saying, what I'm writing, what I'm going to do. Oh God, what am I going to do? I can't live. I can't cope. And finally, water! Oh, see? I told you I'm a dramatic reader. That took me an hour to read, almost. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was supposed to stream earlier and I forgot, but I will be streaming earlier tomorrow and etc. etc. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, I will be putting the stream up on Twitch and YouTube, so whatever you missed, you can actually go watch whenever you have time, if you want to. I killed my voice. My throat is dying. What I think I'm gonna do is it's 9:15. I'm gonna spend the rest of my night playing video games. So I'm gonna head off for the night and get stuff put together and whatever.